Hello everyone, my name is Ellis Owens. I go by Clark Kent 434, and today I'm bringing another weapons video. Today we are going to be featuring the VAL. It's an engineer PDW, and it does have some unique features. The ironic thing about the VAL, it actually is classified in the real world as a compact assault rifle, but DICE likes to call it PDW, and that's just kind of some bit of trivia. I kind of find humor in the gun, but I mean it's a returning weapon from Battlefield 3, and it does have some unique things. The biggest being the integrated silencer, which does give it some advantage and some disadvantages. So we're going to go over the stats right now and see what makes this gun, what's good about it and what's not so good about it. The max damage is 30, and the minimum damage for this weapon is 17. Damage drop off starts at 8 meters and ends at 50. The fire rate for this weapon is 900 rounds per minute, and burst fire rate is 550. Muzzle velocity is 320. The suppressed is actually the same because it has integrated suppressor. Bullet drop off is 15 meters per second squared. Magazine size is a smaller 21. Reload, bullets left in the chamber, or left in the magazine, excuse me, is 1.95. Bullet empty reload would be a 2.9. Recoil for this weapon is an upward a 0.4. Recoil to the left is a 0.4. Recoil to the right is a 0.1. The first shot multiplier for this weapon is a 3.5. The spread on this gun is a 1.3, and the ADS is a 0.4. The ADS while moving is a 0.8, and the hipfire spread is a strong 1. So kind of looking at it, is there anything that stands out? Well, obviously the first thing I've noticed is the hipfire. The hipfire is a 1. That caught my eye. Most people don't maybe not notice that. A 1 means, and this is standard for all PDWs, that means it's going to be strong while hip firing. 1 is actually the best hip firing in the game. All PDWs come with a 1 statistic, which means they have the tightest hip fire, and it makes sense that PDWs have that. Assault rifles have a 5, if I'm not mistaken. No, assault rifles have a 3, excuse me. Carbines have like a 2. LMGs are usually a 5. Like snipers are usually a 5. They're usually kind of the worst ones. So a 1 is the best, and it's obvious that this one does, that VAL falls the rest of the PDWs and having good hip fire, and no doubt about it. PDWs also usually have a better moving advantage. They have a 0.8 while firing while moving, and you also see this, the firing while moving is similar to bullpups, but bullpups and other categories of weapons don't get this tight of hip fire. They usually maybe have a 2 or 2.5. They don't get close to a 1. Maybe with ergo grip and laser they can get close to a 1. They can drop down to it, but they won't start as a base as 1. So that's something to duly noted. The spread on this weapon is a 0.13. That is kind of high spread, but this is a kind of high fire rate weapon. It is 900 RPMs. The aim down sights for this weapon is a 0.4. That is the worst in the group of weapons. I do want to say that. PDWs do not favor aim down sights. They're one of the worst to aim down sights. They favor hip fire. So I always tell people, if you're going to run a PDW, use the hip fire. Aiming down sights is great, but be honest, you're going to throw more bullets or not going to hit the target than do hit the target while aiming down sights, because they have one of the worst hip fires. Most PDWs do. They're really built for hip firing, so use that to your advantage. Work with the gun's stats. The recoil for this gun is kind of high. It has a strong upward and a very strong to the left. It kind of threw me off when I first used it, and it took me a while to get the figure out the recoil. Once I figured out the recoil, I mean, I start really shining with this weapon. The first shot multiplier is a 0.35, and if you don't understand what the first shot multiplier is, it deals when you're burst firing or single or semi-automaticing a weapon, and it multiplies your recoil pattern. This one has a 3.5, so that means it's going to multiply the recoil by 3.5 times. That's an extremely strong multiplier. So this weapon is probably not a very good weapon to burst fire, and you'll notice that when you try to burst this weapon, you're going to feel a very strong recoil. It is not noted that this has a burst mode, and the burst fire is 550. It is a slower rate, which will probably help compensate for it if you do select into burst. It does feel the recoil is a little bit less, but it's probably because you have a slower rate of fire. Reloads are good. They're 1.95 with bullets left in the magazine, and I think it's pretty good. Magazine size is not the greatest, but you know, there has to be balance. The damage is a strong 30, which makes this gun great for close to mid-range. It really shines. With the 30 damage and the 900 RPMs, technically this gun puts out the highest damage per second. Yes, it puts out the highest damage per second weapon in the game. But because of small magazine size, it's not going to have the longest damage per second. It's going to have the highest damage, but not probably the longest. So it's duly noted that this is probably the most highest damaging per second weapon in the game. But you got to realize it's going to be very short-lived. The muzzle velocity is a 320, and that comes into the special feature of this weapon. The VAL has an integrated silencer. That can be a pro and a con. First, when I picked up this weapon, I really wanted to have a muzzle brake on it, and that's one thing you cannot do. You can't change the barrel. You can't put a heavy barrel. You can't put muzzle brake. You can't put a flash suppressor. You got to go with the integrated silencer, and you know, that can be a pain, but be honest, it works out to the advantage, because if you're someone that likes running suppressors, and I kind of do, this gun is really good for you, because I mean, it comes with a suppressor. The muzzle velocity at 320 is pretty good for a suppressed weapon, and then you can stay off the radar, and you can constantly learn to flank and flank around your enemies and use that to your advantage. And you'll see them in the videos. I use the suppressor. I take alternate routes, and I try to attack my opponents, and so that they don't see me, and use the suppressor to your advantage, and so that they don't see you on the radar and the mini map, and hit them from the rear and hit them from the sides and where they're most vulnerable. That is the key feature of the VAL, because this integrated silencer is so great because of that, and they don't see you when you're coming, and that is probably one of the best things I like about this. It's so some people do hate it, but some people like me, I think it's so great that we have a weapon that's pre-built in, and then you can just use it to your advantage. Now, I do think that there might be better weapons out there that you could put a suppressor on overall, but for the time being, I think that this gun is pretty good, because the damage of this weapon balances out the whole suppression effect, because it's got great damage to combine. So the small magazine is probably the biggest suffering of this weapon, but the suppressor is definitely a good thing to be noted. One interesting thing different from the Battlefield 4 from the Battlefield 3 version is that now you can attach grips. The Battlefield 3 version didn't have the possibility. There is this rail that attaches to the bottom. You can attach grips and stuff. I found this very useful. An angle and full grip kind of really helped that high first shot multiplier to reduce it, so it wasn't so bad, and I found that very great. I could easier for me to burst the weapons for that medium range and getting accurate shots on target. That was very useful. Overall, this weapon wasn't really hard to achieve. The co-pilot assignment is pretty easy. You know, the 10 minutes in the helicopter, it's got to be an attack or scout. You know, that's not hard to, do. You can easily get in a helicopter and fly around. But this weapon, I think, is a really good, really solid weapon. Definitely using the hip fire to your advantage, and I think it's probably going to be another fan favorite. I mean, it's another really strong weapon. The recoil is going to probably be the hardest thing to deal with. But once you get the recoil down, I think it will really make up the difference with the damage and the rate of fire it has. So that's my review of the VAL. I hope you guys really enjoyed this commentary. I'm going to have more coming out. If you're new to my channel, subscribe. I appreciate a comment, and if you like it, would you please favorite. Bye.